Right. So I'll start. Psychic namespace deprecation. First of all, thanks for reviewing the CR, Igor and Bob. So that CR is for staging. Let me share my screen. This we can all look at something together. This this is the epic. Where's the CR? Yeah. Jakob, Sean, and I have been talking about this since last year, and I think this is quite. This kind of links to point two. Like if you want to scale up Redis cluster, you've got to have the gem that supports the redirection error handling, which means and that gem version for Redis uh is is version 5. Then we have to upgrade Sidekick to use it. So hence we have to wait, sorry, there's another hoop to jump through. The new version of Sidekick that uses that Redis gem doesn't support namespace. Hence, we need to deprecate namespace before we upgrade the gem. And it's quite complicated because I think the newer Sidekick 7 just dropped the support and we can't just so hence this whole plan. Then yeah, Igor pointed out some of the some considerations. I propose to do per zone rollout instead of per queue rollout, because if you do it by per queue, we've got to go and edit and we've got to like go into the layer where the namespace is added. Whereas right now we're just polling both namespace and non-namespace. And yeah, like Igor pointed out, the extra load is not that much, not really ×2, it's just +1, because it only affects set GitLab.com, which is us, and we do 1 queue per shard polling using the blocking right port. So now we are blocking right port on two queues, which we randomize anyways. So it like each time we run the blocking right port, the order of the queue switches up. So over time it would clear off the queue which we are migrating away from. And hold on. So originally the plan, sorry, someone. Oh, no. So originally the plan was to do.
I just
Yeah.
want to maybe call out the difference. Like if we move the thing further down the stack, as you mentioned, that means we need to monkey patch something more, while now we just have a configuration change based on an environment variable we set. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and the change we made was pretty small, I would say, considering the thing we're doing. I'll link the change later in the document. But yeah, so the original plan was to run a sort of migrate script to move sorted sets that covers scheduled jobs. Because if whenever you do a perform underscore in, then you specify the minutes, that becomes that get put into a sorted set, and there's a poller which checks it regularly. So that is different from like when your normal queue, when you do a perform in, it just gets pushed into a queue immediately. So the original plan was to just do a migrate for that, like just this is the really naive one, which was just do a zunion store. Then zunion store is obviously not good because it's going to block Redis for a long time. So the other way is to zscan and then move it into the new non-namespace key. But then after looking at some of the discussions that and concerns that Igor has pointed out, I think it might be better to just patch the the sorted set and queue polar, and Emma has already tested it out, waiting for reviews. So once, so the good thing now is that we don't, if you sort of pull from both queues and also both sorted sets, there's no need to run a migration script when you do a rollup. You just let it. There's two feature flags effectively. One is called one is called poll non-namespace. So if you enable that, all the workers would pull from both set of namespace, and the cost we've sort of said that sort of discussed and it's negligible. Then next we can toggle the reads, like rather the writes. Like so when you toggle the writes bit by bit, the Sidekick clients will send the job to the new one, to the non-namespace queues and sets. Then the workers will just consume jobs from both sides, and as the volume of writers get pushed to non-namespace, the supply into the namespace queues gets gets consumed away by our psychic servers who are consuming from both namespace, then that is the plan right now. So I'm waiting for the patch to get reviewed, and I think as Bob mentioned, it's good to get some scripts on hand just in case when there's a need for us to like step in to fix things in case there's a fire, just in case. Yeah, but if things go well, we don't need any of the scripts. Just the feature flag toggles would do. And the reason we can't use feature flags here, we have to use nvars, is because Psychic Redis is configured on the startup, so we can't just toggle it. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions on that?
What about
Otherwise, yeah. Sorry.
what about jobs scheduled in the future, like scheduled months in the future?
All right. Do we have jobs scheduled months in the future? Yeah, then in that case, we would need a migrate script, but that would be.
Or
I
we just
presume that can be
support
done quickly,
the legacy polling
yeah.
for, you know, an extended period of time. Like maybe not 10 years, but maybe 6 months.
I'm asking because I think we might have something with calculated performance that
Yeah.
have things. Who knows? But we need to do something for self-managed anyway. So couldn't we do that in like a post-deployment migration?
Yeah.
And we
could
assume
do
it's
that.
already empty for GitLab.com? Well, we should check before we do anything, but yeah.
We will. So the plan was to roll out the change with the namespace removed and have post-deployment migrations. Then the post-deployment migrations have an up and down step. So the up step would just move them to the non-namespace data structures, and the down would just reverse and move them back in case the users need to do a rollback. So the jobs would still be in whatever queues and sets where the workers are consuming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could work that in. I think thanks for bringing that up.
I think doing that for GitLab.com when we assume that there's nothing left is safe enough. But we need to when we need to make sure that there's nothing left when we're done with the feature flags, with the environment variables.
Yeah. I was going to say that we probably can check with the metrics the number of keys in the sorted set once it reaches 0 on scheduled sets and retry. No, I'm not sure if I guess scheduled set and retries.
Retries goes into a couple of weeks, and
okay.
Yeah, 25 retries.
Yeah. It's like 3 weeks, I think. Yeah. Okay. We have to
But 3 weeks is manageable. We can keep these envars in place for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to keep them for several months. Like it doesn't really cost us, assuming the performance is fine, it doesn't really cost us anything to just leave it there for a while.
Yeah. Double polling doesn't block the sidekick upgrade because the sidekick upgrades affect the namespace, which is the writing, the sending into the queue. So if technically we could keep the double polling, because the double polling we are adding the namespace ourselves without and not using Redis namespace at all. So that wouldn't block the gem upgrades. So yeah, I'll think about it and organize those thoughts, then update the CR.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the per queue versus per zone kind of thing. I guess one of the worries or one of the risks that I see with per zone rollout is the scope is still pretty large, and I'm talking about the enqueuing side, not the polling side. If there is anything broken in the data, like if something bad happens there, then we've now impacted a third of all of Sidekick versus a more targeted subset. So I don't know how hard it would be to make just that part kind of
can't we because Sylvester mentioned starting the rollout. So for the writing, we're just the cluster, the web service clusters. We can start with Canary there, and then proceed to 10%, 10%, 10%. I don't know if
that
that's
would de-risk it a little. Yeah.
like I guess with zone, if you do like each deployment zone, the maximum we can go before we change like there's a huge step up. I think Igor, that's one of your concerns, right? Like there's a huge step up from just doing each zone, which is about 10% ish. And then once you're done with all three zones, the only thing left you have to update is the psychic cluster, which itself takes up depends on what time of the day. It could be up to like 70% of the load. Yeah.
That's that
I consider
last
doing shards
step.
because we do deploy them in shards. Yeah. Yeah. We could go into shards, but the moment you deploy on the psychic, like the moment the psychic server starts running, it also triggers cron, which then you might have two parallel sets of crons. And I checked through our cron jobs. The deduplication is done outside of all these. So technically, if all our crons are idempotent, the deduplication will be fine, and we could run that concurrently, like two set of crons, because only like the dedupe will happen, but not all our crons are idempotent. So which is why we have to like which is why like I think the mitigation was that the entire psychic cluster rollout, like the deployment itself takes about 4 minutes, which is a pretty short window, and double job being and cube is pretty slim there for 3-4 minutes window. And if yeah, that was the mitigation. Yeah, but I'm not sure whether that will add a lot more complexity to do like per shard rollout and then have once dedupe.
I mean,
And
if we patch the sidekick and queue method, then we should have full control over where we push it, right?
No,
Is it-
we
No,
patch
it's
the
deeper
psychic
down.
fetching.
Got
Yeah,
it.
we're patching at the fetcher rather than the enqueuer. So yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, this like this is sorry, it's a bit misleading because it says enqueue, but this fetches from the sorted set and then puts it in as a queue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because we have that intermediate step. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The trouble is this. Wait, no. The trouble is psychic.redis. Like you can't like psychic.redis is initialized within psychic. And it goes into the namespace, so we can't multi-store there. You have to patch quite invasively, which
Because it's not per scheduling that we set the namespace. It's on the Redis
global.
client. So we need to patch the Redis client to do something different for each job scheduled, which is
And we can't create two Redis clients and then like switch between them.
at runtime. That's why the patch would be a bit invasive, because we need to
Got
do
it.
this like we need to have them both instead of initializing Sidekick with a config.
Okay, it doesn't sound too bad, but yeah, it's more complex for sure.
I'm not sure that the risk of the cron jobs running next to each other or overlapping is big enough to warrant slowing, like to warrant keeping the window limited to 4 minutes. Well, is that the only thing keeping us from doing like a per shard rollout, which targets queues? Like,
yeah, I think cron dedupe is one of the things that I think cron dedupe is the only thing left that prevents us per shard, because we can configure environment variables by shard in our Kubernetes like KS workloads for GitLab -com. So we could do it. It's just if like I'm thinking of like the problem, because our crons are like sort of distributed pollers, right? And there's a random timer on every single psychic server that polls the crons, and then like one of them will schedule a cron job, and if two of them happen to schedule a cron job within a period of time, and I guess the math should check out, and that should I think Jakob did a deep dive quite a while ago when we were fixing crons, but I'll have to revisit that, and I think Hyrik might be able to weigh in on that.
I think it's worth investigating. If we can do this per shard, then we don't have the big lump in the end, and we don't have the complexity of doing like the sidekick.redis monkey patch stuff.
Yeah. Right, I'll go revisit it as a follow-up, and
Awesome. If we can do that, I'll shut up. I promise.
No problem. It's good that it's pointed out. Like this is a fairly big, this is a very big thing. So yeah, background is all background jobs. So yeah, it's right to be worried. Yeah, so that I think that sums up this whole chapter. The next
Yeah.
part is about Redis cluster because we have 4 Redis clusters running already. So we gotta think about when do we want to think about scaling, because scaling, like there are a few hoops to jump through before we get to scaling. One of which I mentioned was the gem itself needs to support like redirection errors in pipelines. Because when you do a reshard and you move the key slots around, there will be redirections. And if you send a pipeline of commands, the command that gets sent, like one command within the pipeline might hit a node that the key slot was just moved away, and then there's the server says you have to redirect it. Redis gem 4.8 doesn't handle that redirection. You would retry the entire. You have to retry the entire pipeline. Whereas Redis 5 handles like finds individual redirected commands and retries them for you and gives you back the entire result nicely. Like it's all wrapped under Redis cluster client. So yeah, which is why doing the namespace deprecation lets us upgrade Redis to V5, which Sidekick 7 needs. Like you have to upgrade both together because they're sort of coupled.
Right. It's unblocking both the Sidekick upgrade as well as like the new Redis gem, which has extra stuff that we need / want for Redis cluster.
Yeah. So I was thinking that we probably can't use Temland, like the standard Temland forecast, or rather we might adjust it to be a little bit more conservative because we might need extra time to get all these things in. And also manually scaling up Redis cluster is something we've never done before. So we might need some time to plan the failure conditions, get our tooling ready, do some dry runs and practices on like staging before we actually have to do it for real saturation prevention. Yeah, so rather than ping everybody inside this issue, I thought I bring it up in a demo and then everyone can go there later. So yeah.
It definitely feels like the kind of thing that would be better to be done, not rushed.
Yeah, I think as soon as we have Redis RB5 available, we should start trying it out and staging and see if we can actually, like, if it just works.
Yeah. Okay. I've tried it locally with like because I was validating it and I tried like resharding it locally while sending a stream of commands and V5 handles it nicely. So yeah, but then again it's local, so production is like actual deployments are always better. Yeah.
Worked on my machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Redis 5. I'll say Redis 5 is sort of the Redis V5, the gem, the gem, not the Redis server. I've been looking at like landmines that and avoiding them. I think Igor is aware. So we've been patching, we've been sending all our patches that we found to V5 because V4.8, I think the maintainer is not backporting any. So V5 should be the port to V5 should be pretty smooth.
Yeah, but I mean, we're kind of going back to the original question. We're already kind of getting ahead of the issue. Continue to keep working on this and not wait.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you got cut off a little bit. So I didn't catch what you were saying. Like the moment I started typing, then your audio got cut off. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just kind of summarizing that we're already getting ahead of the issue with the work that you're doing right now. So I think I don't feel like we're at risk of this hitting us in the face.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, I think there's a little risk of surprise, and we still have a lot of headways. But I was thinking we just bring this up just to get some numbers because I think I called Liam and we are thinking like where should we do it? 50%, 40%, 60%? It's better to just set a number, and at least we have a number somewhere to look at.
That should be in the saturation point configuration in our metrics, in our saturation
Alright.
catalog, so it goes into Tamland, and then we'll get an issue when we need to look at it. So-
Alright.
Yeah. What is it?
It's-
What is that set to right now?
Yeah.
Is it 85 or 90%?
Yeah, we also said that there's an element of probably having it lower for the first time we do this, right?
Yeah.
Because there's more risk involved. But yeah, I guess if we could find that out and then create an MR to make a suggestion and discuss, kind of land on what we're all happy with.
Like we can say 85% and then like 3 months out. So we have a quarter to work on it, would be kind of my pulling something out of a hat number.
Alright.
It's set to 85 and 95 today.
So 85 and 95.
So we get an issue when we predict 85 3 months in the future.
Yes.
Okay,
Alright.
so we don't need to do anything.
Well, maybe Sylvester can check if those graphs work properly across the shards for a Redis cluster, but I think they do.
I think right now they take the max.
Yeah, which
So-
is fine.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Yes.
Yeah, sounds good. Alright. Yeah, that's it for me. If anyone else has anything.
Okay, then we can have some time back today. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.